Now, if you are the guy or you're the gal who throws the parties, if you're the person who throws the cookouts, if you're the person who always hosts the events, should you have to change or reframe what you do if your partner is on a weight loss journey? Should you be the one who has to change up what you do, how you operate with your friends, how you operate with your family, if your partner is trying to go through a weight loss transformation? I need you to put your answers in your comments in the chat for me, guys. This is Lunchtime Logic. This is your boy, Coach Mark. Y'all know how we do, all right? Now, my guy Ken wrote in from Dover, Delaware. So he's talking about he and his wife, they've been together 16 years. 16 years has been great. They have a pretty good relationship. One of the reasons why they have such a good relationship is because they are the ones who host the parties. They are the one who host the get-togethers, the family gatherings on holidays. They are the house. They have the backyard, they have the space, they have the area, and they really like hosting. Well, right now, currently, his wife just went through a 7 month transformation. She lost a great deal of weight. She's changed her life around. She changed how she eats. She changed a lot of her habits. So currently they're in cookout season, and y'all know how that goes. So he is the self-proclaimed grill master. He's the guy that puts on the sausages, the chicken, the fish, the burgers, the hot dogs. He does the macaroni salad, the potato salad, everything. He does the whole spread, and he likes to have cookouts often. Sometimes he'll have one on a Monday and have one again on Saturday. Sometimes he'll have people come over on the weekend, and he'll make it a 2-day event. So a lot of times, not only does he cook mass amounts of food, but they have food left over, right? They have snacks left over. There's sodas left over. There's all types of things that stay at their house because of these events. Now, he does realize that his wife is trying to lose weight and she's on a journey, and he's very proud of her. But she has come to him and said, hey, listen, I've done a lot of things to try to stay away from eating out, but now that it's summertime, it feels like our house is an absolute restaurant. Right? It's restaurant food all day long. We got restaurant food all week. We got snacks all week. We got sodas. It's making it really hard for me to stay focused. So they had a few talks about this, and he's feeling like he's at a crossroad. He doesn't know what to do because he really looks forward to his summers. He takes a lot of time off of work, and this is the time where he connects with the people that he loves because he doesn't get to see them throughout the year as much, right? So he's like, should I stop hosting these events and these cookouts so that my wife can, get herself together? Or does she have to, kind of suck it up a little bit and be a little bit stronger mentally when these events come, right? Because they're going to continue to go on, right? Like, he can't stop them forever. So what should he do in this situation? Should he draw back on all the events? Or should he design maybe some delicacies or some entrees that would be a little bit more fat loss friendly just for her or anybody else who's trying to lose weight? But he did say he doesn't want to turn his cookouts into like a weight loss seminar, right? Because people aren't coming there for that. They're coming there for the community, the party aspect, and they're coming there for the food. So if they can't expect great cookout food, are they still going to come? So he's at a dilemma right now. So we're going to give him some advice today, all right? Now, as I mentioned, guys, this is Lunchtime Logic. This is your boy, Mark my words. Now, Lunchtime Logic. It is called Lunchtime Logic because we eat lunch in Lunchtime Logic, okay? Today I have 5 ounces of grilled chicken, half a sweet potato, and 5 ounces, or I think it's 6 ounces of cooked salmon, all right? Now, why do I share that with you guys? Because nutrition is going to be 80% of your battle from now until the day you die. It's the most easily accessible factor, right, to your health and fitness. But it's also the most critical, the most defining factor. Because if you eat really, really bad, not only will you be out of shape, not only will you have extra body fat, but you'll also start to develop health problems, okay? But in the reverse, guys, if we're mindful of what we eat, if we're mindful of our portions, if we're mindful of our calorie intake, right? And if we're cycling correctly, you can be healthy for a very, very long time. And the other things come really easy. The sleep comes easy. The exercise comes easy, okay? The supplements, you start finding out you don't need as many. But everything revolves around our nutrition, guys, because that's the way we feel. Our bodies, the human body runs off of certain fuel systems, right? And normally they're powered by what we eat, okay? So we're always going to talk a little bit about nutrition on Lunchtime Logic, but hopefully you're able to enjoy some lunch right now. I'm going to enjoy some lunch, and we're going to give this young man some advice, right? Now, guys, you know, I like to examine a few things first before we get too deep into the solution, because we will assume that we have an answer, a quick answer for his situation before examining what's going on, right? And I love to take both viewpoints before giving some solution, because, you know, it's very important to look at it from both persons' perspectives. Now, let's go to her perspective, his perspective first. Now, bro, I'm gonna talk to you for a second, because you're the guy that wrote in, okay? I do understand what it's like to be the host, to be the life of the party, to be the guy who gets everybody together, right? You're the guy who makes the phone calls, you send the emails, you send the invites. Everybody comes to join with you, right? And a lot of these people wouldn't see each other if it wasn't for you. You have the house, you have the backyard, you have the deck, you might have the pool. Your house is the hot spot, okay? Now, because your house is the hot spot, people start expecting it to be the hot spot. So now you have expectations because you have the hot spot, right? So you got to cook, you got to host, you got to make sure everybody feels comfortable. You got to have food there that everybody's going to enjoy, because if they don't enjoy the food, they're not going to come. You have to make sure the music is right. There's all types of things that go into this. So I just wanted to start it out by just saying that I do understand where you're coming from when you say you love to host, and that's one of one of the fundamental favorites of your summer times, right? Now, let's understand something, people, that when we go to these cookouts, when we go to these weddings and events, parties, these gatherings, being around other human beings, right, that we have positive exchanges with, that are healthy exchanges, that keep us alive, keep us going, right? They establish connections for the future. Because you see somebody sometimes, and you're like, oh man, I missed you. I haven't talked to you in a while. Let's exchange numbers. And then you guys start talking, and you talk once a week for 5 years straight. That and other connections is what makes events like cookouts worth it, right? If we don't have these gatherings, guys, we a lot of us, you know, as human beings, man, we slip into these little tiny bouts of depression sometimes, or we just get lonely, or we don't have somebody to talk to, right? So we need these events. Human beings have always wanted to gather with each other and enjoy food and pleasantries. You understand? So I would imagine, Ken, this is why you're throwing these cookouts. And they've become a thing. And one thing that happened, Ken, all these years, and it's important that we understand what happened the years before the wife wanted to get in shape. Now, the wife might not have been in bad shape the whole time. A lot of times, guys, we look back over 16 years, a lot of us had some periods of times in there where we were in better shape, right? We were just paying a little bit more attention to our health. We might have been more active, might have been sleeping better. So I would imagine that there were some points in there that Ken was having these get-togethers and these barbecues that his wife was in shape. So what he cooked wasn't a problem. What everybody wanted wasn't a problem, right? What was on the menu wasn't a problem. When things change, we have to make changes. I do understand that, right? Universal law. But it's important to understand that he was doing things a certain way for a really long time and it was working. Nobody was complaining. So now she's made a change. And Ken, being somebody who has made some vital changes in life, let me just help you, because Ken, I don't know if you've ever lost 20 pounds before, right? You might have been someone who was able to maintain a pretty good shape, a pretty healthy weight throughout the years, you know, or maybe you exercise and you do pay attention to what you eat, perhaps, right? And you strength train and you're able to just hold a pretty nice physique, right? So you may have never lost 20, 30 pounds at one time. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But if you didn't, let me tell you what goes into it. I would imagine your wife had to change up a lot of her habits. Not just eating habits, because we always look towards the eating. But guys, you can't have, if you have great eating habits, but you have terrible sleep habits, if you're not organized, if you don't have a schedule, right? If you're not punctual when you go to your classes, this whole thing doesn't work. So she's probably had to make a ton of changes, bro. And she's had to stay away from some foods that she dearly loves. I don't think people understand how hard it is to go from eating a food whenever you want it for 5 years, and then you have to stop enjoying that food so much. So let's just say it's cookies. If you were somebody that ate cookies just about every day and now you can only have them once a week, that's very tough. That's so tough. So it's probably damn near every piece of food on the cookout menu, bro, she's had to back up from. Okay? Other than your grilled meats. I'd say the cookout, most likely everything is, yeah. So not only has she had to do that, but she now has to track her food. Because these days, it's pretty tough to lose weight without tracking. And I think that we did it in the past without tracking, but we realized how ineffective it was and how so many of us then hit the curve and we gained the weight back because we didn't have a metric, right? So she's had to start eating healthier, tracking her macros, tracking her calories, staying on top of having certain foods in the house. She's developed a palate for different foods. And bro, how about the exercising? How about the steps? How about the HIIT workouts? How about the cycling classes? Think about all the work she put in, bro, to lose the weight. It has taken a lot. And you said in the letter that you appreciated her, you know, her efforts and the fact that she's going so hard to lose. So I know you do, because most of us would feel that way if our partners made a change like that. But the other part of the appreciation is perhaps, you know, continuously like letting her know, hey, I see all this work that you're doing. What can I do to help, right? What can I do to help? That's normally how we acknowledge that somebody's put in a lot of work and they got some good results. Is that we ask them, how can we help them get to the next set of goals? So, bro, let me help you with something. And again, it almost seems like, you know, you didn't say, but it almost seems like you're the guy who's always been able to maintain his weight pretty well, who's never really had major problems, you know, staying under a certain weight or staying strong and healthy, right? Staying lean. So you may not know what 3 to 4 months of gluttony can do. Because a lot of us in the real world, man, we put on weight pretty easily, right? Our body stores fat pretty easily. And we can have a bad 3 to 4 months, man. It can get out of hand. It can get out of hand, bro. So I think that's what your wife is scared of. And she's right to be scared of that. So what should you do? Is it her responsibility? Or is it yours? Now, I will say this. You know, we're talking about adults here, right? And whenever I have someone that's writing in about their spouse, I have to make sure that we understand, man, that like adults, we do carry some responsibility for our own actions. A lot of it, right? So, you know, your wife has to be strong, bro. Because I think you were right. Even if you guys didn't have the events, you're going to have weddings. You're going to have celebrations. You're going to have vacations, right? She has to keep herself together during these, you know, during these situations. So she does have responsibility of her own self-control. But I do believe as a partner, we have to meet our partners halfway, right? I've seen too many people struggle with their weight for a very long time because they are with a person who does not want to join them and with their healthy eating habits. Because you'll have one partner that says, oh, I don't like that stuff. I don't feel like I need to eat healthy. I'm fine. I'm at the weight I want to be. And that may be true. But in this case and in others, would it kill us to try to help them get to where they need to be? Because it's going to be almost, I don't want to say it's impossible, guys, but it's very, very tough to be aligned with a person that you have a totally different diet than. It's very hard to do, especially if you guys live in the same house. If you lived in separate residences, I could see possibly how that could work. But if you live in the same home as another person, it is very hard to have a totally different diet than what they have. Because you guys are always, you're always headed in different directions. So I believe your wife has a duty, bro, to exercise self-control. But I think she's shown you that she does have that. And I think right now she needs your help. So you had a couple questions. Should you stop throwing the events? Should you stop throwing the events all over, right? Should you completely cut it off and not be the host? Absolutely not. Absolutely not, bro. Because that also gives you a mission. That also makes you feel good. That gives you connection with people. You know, you're making several connections when you have these events. 50 people at an event, bro. Each person got a chance to connect with the other 49 people there. You understand how many connections that is? It isn't just about you seeing your cousin. It isn't just about you seeing your aunt. Now your aunt also saw your cousin. Your cousin also saw your wife, right? These connections that people make are vital to our existence, bro. Vital to our well-being, okay? So absolutely not, I would not think about stopping these events at all, okay? Now, should you have the same menu? I think you should have the same menu, but let's be clear about something. There's normally food left over from every cookout, every event. Identify the foods that people are generally not consuming when they come to your event. It could be that every time people come, you guys get potato salad and nobody ever eats it. It could be that you cook burgers every time, but everybody always wants hot dogs. Nobody ever eats the ribs, right? It's rare that people eat everything that you cook. And I would identify those items because I'm sure there's a couple. And those are the ones that you allow your wife to replace with things that she would like to eat, okay? Because she should be eating mostly off of the grill at these events, okay? I talked about this in another video. If we're at these events, We have to try to structure our plates the same way we would if we were at home. You can only try. You can't work miracles. If they don't have it, they don't have it. Most of the time, they have a couple protein sources for you, right? There's some crudité or something. Now, as you give her a couple options that we can replace the other foods that no one eats anyway, if you can replace that with her healthy options, now she feels like she has options, okay? I would make sure you guys are stocked up on water or Crystal Light or something else. What we think is that everyone wants soda. What we think is that everyone wants energy drinks, perhaps, right? Or alcohol. And when it comes down to it, guys, people are normally okay with what you provide them when it comes to drinks. Rarely do you hear someone say, I had a great time at that restaurant, but they didn't have the strawberry lemonade I liked, so it sucked. Oh, this cookout was amazing, but they didn't have the drinks that I wanted there, the alcohol I wanted there, so it was terrible. That's not normally what people do, bro. People's experience are not defined by the drinks that are available. That's not normally what people do. So I'm not saying don't have a cooler with your beer and your soda and whatnot, but maybe let's have a cooler with the Crystal Light and the water, right? Because there's a good chance there's going to be a lot of people who would choose the Crystal Light or the water, myself included. Even if I eat a cookout plate with a bunch of things on it that I wouldn't normally consume, I'm still wanting to wash it down with water or Crystal Light, okay? Now, your wife spoke about having leftovers all the time. And that's a real thing, bro, because depending on how much food you cook and prepare, and you guys aren't throwing food away, there's food sitting around your house for a week. There's food sitting around your house to the next cookout. So again, for your wife who's trying to abstain from cheeseburgers, there's all these cheeseburgers available. As soon as she opens her fridge, I would go out on a limb and say you probably throw leftovers on the grill sometimes during the week when you're not having a cookout. Because if you're a true grill master, brother, that's what you do. Okay? And I'm not mad at you. But for your wife, it makes it very tough. And I'll say this, because people will say, well, if he's striking up the grill, Mark, why doesn't she just eat grilled chicken all the time? Or grilled shrimp? Yo, that sounds great. Until you walk out to the grill and there's a burger on there. Or there's a beef sausage, right? Mexican street corn on the grill. Now your mind frame is different, because with that burger, guess what? You're not going to eat an apple, right? You want some fries, potato chips, potato salad, it goes together, right? So it's more or less the other foods and what normally accompany those other foods on a plate that are dangerous for her. So what I would say is, bro, I would get, because apparently you're spending a little bit of money on these cookouts, I would get the big styrofoam to-go plates. Now they have the one big compartment in them and then with two other sections. I would get those. And as you guys are cooking, and if people start to stop eating, start putting the leftover in these to-go containers. Don't leave it up to everybody else, because everybody else, a lot of people won't get leftovers, man. They're not really thinking about tomorrow. But when you package them up, because you have to put the food into something, put them into the individual styrofoams, man, and give them to people. Have plastic bags ready, give them to people. Because you're either throwing the food away or you'll keep the leftovers, but I already know how it goes. You guys end up throwing it away eventually, right? If you can give people a to-go plate or two, that will reduce the amount of leftovers that's at your house for the next week or week and a half until you have the next event. That's going to help your wife. Also, brother, there are homeless shelters everywhere. Everywhere. And bro, it's 2026. It's sad that we have to have this conversation, but there are still people who don't eat 3 square meals a day in America. But we throw millions of tons of food away every day. Tell me how that makes sense. It doesn't to me. But because of that, Whatever food you aren't able to give to your patrons, you can take to a homeless shelter. Again, in the styrofoam, listen, they're already ready to go. And you may have to do that every single time you have a cookout. And there's nothing wrong with that, because someone needs to eat the food that was prepared. You understand? Because, bro, I know that you want to say, oh my God, just because we have leftovers, that doesn't mean she has to eat them. Man, if she's staying away from hamburgers or cheeseburgers and hot dogs, that shouldn't be hard to do as long as she has her food in here. Bro, listen to me. I told you this, earlier. When you are someone that's used to having a certain entree, and it's all the time, and it's whenever you want, when it's time for you to no longer enjoy that entree, it is very tough if you still have to look at or smell or taste that entree, right? Bro, imagine how hard it would be to stop eating burgers if you worked at Burger King. It'd be very tough, right? So we can't expect your wife to look at these entrees or these leftovers just sitting around the house, man. The chips, the pretzels, the sodas. It's already summertime, bro. I think summertime produces, we talk about wintertime and when people are lethargic and when people don't go out to the gym and they just sit in the house and eat. We talk about that producing more obese persons, but I think it's actually the summer months, man. Your May through September. That's when we go to the events, man. That's when we drink. That's when, that's when we're out just eating, things we weren't even planning on eating. We're going out to eat more. It's all types of things. We're traveling more, right? So I'd say, bro, you keep having your events. You keep being the grill master. Let's find a couple of these foods or entrees or specific items that you notice are always lingering around afterward because people don't really enjoy them, or they aren't, they just aren't consuming them for whatever case. I would also identify your drink selections, right? And make half of your drink selections water and like Crystal Light or some other very light fruit juice, perhaps, right? Everything doesn't have to be alcohol, beer, and soda. Also, the to-go plates and giving the leftovers to the patrons and the relatives and the friends, right? Get in the containers. Let's not tell people, oh, take some if you want. No, let's prepare it and give it to them. And what you have left over from that, you take to whatever homeless outfit you have in your county or your city. Let's get that food from around your house, bro, because if your wife if she's at a point, maybe she lost 20, she needs to keep the momentum so she can get to 30, 35, maybe even 40. But this summer, if she puts on 5 or 6, let's just say, that can break her spirit, bro. It can kill her momentum. So it won't always be this way, because once she gets to her goal, it's a lot easier to maintain that weight. But when you're trying to lose, you can't have 3 and 4 days where your calories and your carbs are up. If your plan is to keep your carbs and your calories down, right? That was just an example. But if whatever's going to take you off your plan, you can't have it happen so frequently. Fat loss is about momentum, right? And right now she's trying to lose fat, okay? So that was actually a really great situation. And I'm glad that Ken wrote in, because as partners, guys, we got to be way more aware of what our partners are trying to do and how we can help. And a lot of times our assistance lies in what we can remove, right? Or what we can help them remove from their lives. That's what it seems like it is. So Ken emailed me at coachmark22@gmail.com. That is Coach Mark with a C, 22@gmail.com. All right. So if you have a situation like his, please email me, be as detailed as possible. I don't have to use your name or your location, and I'll put it here on the live or on a Q&A. All right. Now, if you are someone like Ken and your spouse might need a coach, you might say, oh, my spouse is down 18, 20, but it seems like they hit a wall, man. She probably could really, really use some encouragement, some motivation. You might need a coach for that. If so, click the link in the bio, guys. Schedule a free consultation with me. It's absolutely free. We'll get on the line. We'll talk about it. We'll figure out if we're a good match, and I can help you get to your fat loss goals. All right. Now, this is your guy, Coach Mark. This is Lunchtime Logic. This is also Transformation Station. Okay. Come back here every day for lunchtime. We'll talk about issues that go on within our health and fitness journey and how we can help each other get to some solutions, man, because that's what it's about. And it's also about establishing some habits that we can retain for a very long time. Getting down to a goal weight is awesome when you're 40, but you don't want to have to do it every 10 years or every 5 years. So let's figure out how to sustain this and keep it going, all right? So thanks for tuning in with your boy. It is your guy, Coach Mark. This is Lunchtime Logic.